Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and welcome to another episode of the Weekly Reset. Taliesin and Evitel's wondrous wisdom show, the only source of WoW news that you will ever need. And that is not even an exaggeration. Oh, what, you think you might want to watch a Bellular video? Well, I'm Bellular now. You feel like taking in Hazel or So Breezy? Already are. In a week where the real Prepatch has begun. Yeah, okay, so we spent the last 3 weeks playing with UIs and talent trees, and that's all very well and good, but this is the week that Dragonflight really comes to town, with a new playable race and class and starting area to play through, but not just that, a new Dragonflight dungeon, the revamped Uldaman 5-man with its oodles of revelatory new lore drops to get up to date with, and some bosses and loot and stuff as well. But not only that, the new elemental invasion events, which I know aren't actually called elemental invasions, they're called like storms or something, I think, but I can't be expected to remember all that. Anyway, that's your grindy and orc catch-up content, but that's not all, because there is also the Dragonflight pre-quests to do, where you meet up with Rathian or Ebonhorn, and Khadgar makes his grand return, and you gather your exploring party together, ready to hop onto the boat or Zeppelin the very second you are allowed to, on the 28th of November, to make your way to the Dragon Isles. And yeah, that's right, you heard right, literally everyone in the entire game on launch is going to be standing on the same Stormwind dock or Orgrimmar Zeppelin platform waiting for a boat. And then everyone in the game on launch night, so like literally millions of people, will then be getting onto one Stormwind boat or one Orgrimmar Zeppelin. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, that's going to be an absolute shit show. Obviously, what on earth were they thinking? And if I was Taliesin, then I'd probably agree with you and be quite worried. But actually, I can guarantee you right now that there will be absolutely no problems at all. In fact, it's going to be the smoothest launch in the history of the game. That is the official prediction of me. Preach. You can quote me on that. Those Dragonflight pre-quests and the Dracthyr starting zone, by the way, have space for at least one new cinematic. I personally think maybe two, and maybe one of those new cinematics will be the one premiering in Blizzard's Phase 2 launch stream on Tuesday. I don't know, but it certainly seems likely to me that these banners being put up around Blizzard HQ and featuring a troll in BFA questing gear, and okay, a lot of people are calling this a human, but I know a dwarf when I see a dwarf. This is a dwarf, and this little large couple are clearly zooming around on a couple of dragons, just a couple of Horde and Alliance best friends, like roommates, just having wonderful platonic fun together. But more interesting than that, this appears to be from one of those high-res CGI cinematics, like the cinematic trailers, or those Sourfang ones, or that very short Shadowlands launch cinematic that never really got elaborated on. This is almost certainly what's getting previewed on Tuesday. You can bet that I'll have my tux on and my whiskey poured to watch it on stream with you. Really, I just wonder if there's going to be any narrative element to it. Like, will it be a Shadowlands thing where it's just a collection of cool images in gloriously rendered detail, which is good enough, you know? That's fine. I'd say this image suggests it probably is. Or is it something a bit more, I guess I want to say, integral? So there's a gap for a cinematic in the Dracthyr starting zone where a big baddie turns up and starts causing hassle. There's a gap when Khadgar turns up in Orgrimmar and Stormwind where he tells us what has happened, which is probably that same baddie turning up causing hassle cinematic. And that could well be the launch cinematic too, why not? There is a teeny tiny elephant in the room with this live broadcast, which people have brought up, and I feel like I have to mention it, and that's the fact that as well as having Terran Gregory and Anna Morgan on hand to go over the new cinematic, executive producer Holly Longsdale is hosting the entire thing along with lots of other WoW developers, and you know, presumably it will be in Blizzard's new awesome WoW hipster warehouse coffee shop that they used for the Dragonflight reveal, which, let's be honest, has some brilliant exposed brickwork. Something I think we can all agree automatically lets you know that you're dealing with some very awesome and clever people here, you know, it's a true sign of real class if you ask me. Exposed brickwork, 10 out of 10. And you know, presumably Holly will be talking to the devs who were involved in like the Dracthyr customizations, or the Forbidden Reach, or the Uldaman dungeon, and judging by past precedent, that means it'll probably be pre-recorded. That's what I would guess is going to happen, but there are some people whispering that you know, it does seem like an awful lot of effort for Prepatch, doesn't it? And I'm like, yeah, maybe, I guess, but not really. I mean, they've got a game to sell after all. But those people are whispering that maybe there will be some other purpose to this stream, like maybe an announcement of patch 10.1, which, okay, I know sounds ridiculous, and I agree, it does, but it would not be unprecedented. Legion's first update, 7.1, was announced before the expansion launched via live stream, and then went live itself just 6 weeks after Legion did. And yeah, okay, so Legion was unusual because it had a real point to prove, that expansion, to win players back after Warlords of Draenor, a massively unpopular expansion that suffered from cut content and a terrible patch cadence. Unlike Dragonflight, which is the follow-up to Shadowlands, which, oh, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah. Ian Hazakostas himself has identified Shadowlands' slow update rollout as one of the major problems with the last expansion, and vowed that Dragonflight will be different. And with all of the advertising and messaging around Dragonflight being very heavily aimed at returning players and WoW being back to itself again, it's not actually the most out there theory that Blizzard might want to really push the "we've learned our lessons" messaging by pulling out an absolute blinder and revealing the first major patch ahead of time, just like they did with Legion. I want to be clear, I don't really think that is going to happen, and honestly, I feel bad even mentioning it because it puts really unfair pressure and automatic disappointment on the actual live stream, which is going to be very hype and exciting in its own right. But it is a possibility that I don't think we can completely rule out, like 0.1% possibility, you know? But that's not the only rumor I've heard flying around, though. No, wait, rumor is absolutely the wrong word. That suggests it has any credence at all. It's a theory. Do you remember that Dragonflight leak that appeared to get just about everything right? From Dracthyr to Evoker to Dragon Isles to new talent trees and no AP? Well, that leak also said there would be a new allied race made available for pre-orders, something that has obviously never happened. In fact, a lot of speculation at the time, when the Dragonflight pre-orders were clearly delayed for some reason, which we've never found out, was because that allied race wasn't available in time. So, you know, maybe part of this live stream could be an announcement of that new allied race, which would be pretty rad, honestly, because there is legit only one allied race that could possibly make sense for Dragonflight, and that allied race is Tuskar, obviously. And of course, this is possible, because basically anything is possible. It's just wildly unlikely, even if that original leak is to be believed. And I think, yeah, this leak is from a good source, but it could easily have been a misunderstanding. Like, it's referring to the new race, Dracthyr, and someone just heard allied race somewhere along the line. Or, you know, it could have been early talk about what turned out to be the Dark Ranger customizations that we eventually got in 9.2. Or it could have been a legit allied race that was planned, but then abandoned. And it seems especially cruel to the devs who will be on Tuesday's live stream, excited about showing us their work on the new expansion, that any of us might be sitting there like, yeah, but where's my new allied race? Like you promised, though, in the leak, though, Blizzard, is what I would say if I were Taliesin. But actually, I, Nobble, confidently predict that there will be a new allied race revealed on Tuesday. And that's a promise from me, Nobble. I hereby stake my reputation on it. Okay, now I've ruined that entire livestream reveal for you with the weight of expectation. Here's a quick rundown of the Prepatch Phase 2. Dracthyr, a new playable race and new playable class and a new starting zone. It's a pretty big deal, really. The Dracthyr themselves have an outrageous amount of customization on both their dragon and visage forms, which I've spent a lot of time playing with in the last couple of months, and I'm at the stage now where I personally love that by toning down the hair colors and the scale patterns, you can make what is essentially a half-elf looking visage for high concept RP action. And the Evoker class, which don't forget only Dracthyr can play, come in range DPS and healing flavors. They have an absolutely stupid amount of maneuverability, including the racial ability Soar, which, okay, isn't the Dracthyr can do dragon riding with just their wings that it should have been, but is still pretty brilliant when you get to the Dragon Isles, and dragon riding upgrades have given it a speed boost and a 90-second cooldown. You can basically use it constantly constantly. The Evoker class also makes use of the new hold to cast feature, whereby certain abilities are stronger or last longer or target more enemies based on how long you hold the cast button down for. And don't worry, you don't actually have to hold the button down. It can be changed to a press to start the cast and a second press to make the cast in the options menu. It's like the first thing you're going to do when you start playing Dracthyr, I promise. I feel like the DPS Evoker spec finally clicked on the beta a week or so ago in terms of how it plays, because I wasn't convinced at first, but I think it is genuinely a really nice class now. The starting zone, the Forbidden Reach, is pretty snappy and introduces you to a wide range of characters that you will hang out with for the rest of the expansion, including Scale Commander Emberthal, who you will remember from the Legacies animations. And I just want to say, I love the term Scale Commander, you know? I'm going to start a petition to call all high-ranking officers in human armies Skin Commanders or Flesh Generals. That's how I think we should name stuff from now on. Dracthyr Evokers can be Horde or Alliance, but unlike Pandaren, you make that choice in the character create menu, and then at the end of the scenario, you will be whisked away from the Dragon Isles to Stormwind or Orgrimmar as part of the story for an orientation, just in time to go back to the Dragon Isles again in a couple of weeks in the world's fullest boat. It is a documented and objective fact that every WoW expansion that has introduced a new class has been an absolute banger, and remembered as a genuine Stone Cold classic. So yes, this bodes well for Dragonflight. The new revamped Uldaman dungeon is queuable, on the PTR at least, at a difficulty level which is basically no difficulty level at all. If you have like any gear at all. We had a Dracthyr tanking the last group I joined, and you remember from the handy Dracthyr guide that we just did, Evokers can't be tanks. But he took 0 damage whether I bothered healing him or not. Also, that dungeon awards level 278 gear, so go wild. And I get that it's pre-patch and people's item levels are all over the place, but it is a bit of a shame, in my opinion, that most people's first impression of this one will be as a complete pushover, because I think it's actually a really good dungeon. The Lost Vikings are in there as a boss and join the party throughout with loads of voice acting. At least 2 of the bosses are really interesting mechanics-wise, and there is fat lore reveals like I mentioned earlier, not just in those 5 secret books scattered about the new areas, but in the final boss itself, who I think probably reveals who the final boss of the expansion is. I don't know. And then, of course, there's the only bit of the pre-patch which won't still be here after the pre-patch, the Elemental Storms. That's what they're actually called. I went and looked it up because, you know, WoW news. These are the least good part of the pre-patch. Earth, fire, air, and water invasions pop up in 4 spots over the old world. 3 of them are considerably easy to get to if you're Horde, and when you get there, the area will be full of elementals wandering around, waiting to be killed for primeval essence, which can be spent on very modest catch-up gear, which is a unique recolor of Dragonflight leveling gear, and a couple of other odds and ends. Every now and then, a boss pops up in these areas, and they give a fistful of primal essences, but also maybe a rare drop. All 4 rare drops, 1 from each boss, fit together to make a cool heirloom trinket. So there you go. These invasions aren't great, if I'm honest. The boss fights can get a bit hectic and enjoyable, but if the bosses aren't up, then the invasions themselves are pretty sparse and random. I can't really see myself doing more than the absolute bare minimum on my main. My other characters, some of whom could actually use the catch-up gear, will just have to wait for Dragon Isles leveling, I think, and the unique transmog recolor be damned, sorry. You know what, maybe it'll be a lot more fun with a whole server's worth of people taking part, and I will change my mind, but at the moment, I just don't know why it's apparently so hard to recreate the no-holds-barred fun of the Legion invasions, which were this, but like much better, with more interesting fights and events and like structure. Basically, it's lucky that this is such a jam-packed pre-patch in other ways, because without the new race and class and starting zone and dungeon and other quests, this would be pretty disappointing stuff. Yeah, without most of the stuff in the pre-patch, this would be a very disappointing pre-patch. Shame on you, Blizz. Another major big deal for lots of people is the fact that WoW will have Twitch drops enabled for the first time ever, starting from the launch of pre-patch 2. From the 15th to the 18th of November, you can earn the Dragon Kite toy simply by watching 4 hours of anyone streaming under the World of Warcraft section on Twitch. And of course, you should definitely watch our stream for that. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Tali, I like you, but I think I'd rather watch Asmongold's stream. Well, here's the thing. I, Asmongold, am saying right now, don't watch my stream, watch Taliesin's stream. That's the advice from me, Asmongold, your boy. Make sure you've connected your Twitch account to your Battle.net account, and actually make sure that the streamer you're watching has done that and enabled drops too. They'll have it in their stream title, don't worry. And the kite is nice, but the big rewards come a little bit later with the actual Dragonflight launch. The Feldrake, previously only obtainable as a discontinued trading card game mount, and which until as recently as last week was on eBay for upwards of $3,000. Like real life American dollars, will be free to everyone who watches 4 hours of WoW Twitch from November the 28th to December the 1st. With the perpetual purple firework toy, your reward for sitting through just 2 hours of streams from the 13th to the 28th of December. There's a pet available too for gifting a couple of subs to select eligible streamers communities, which is very good for those streamers, and you know, hopefully I'm one of them, frankly, because daddy needs a new Rolex, or just like any watch, seriously. But I gotta say, I'm not a fan of Twitch drops where the viewer has to actually spend money. The other drops I've covered are good because as a viewer, it costs you nothing to get free stuff. You just watch streams, and that's legit. So those are the ones I'm going to excitedly tell you about here. Oh yeah, and RIP Feldrake eBay sellers, obviously, F's in chat for them, and they disappeared $3,000. But I mean, apart from them, it's all good. Yay! Sorry about your sudden worthless cards. And that's just about it for the pre-patch shenanigans. Let's have a quick recap on the updates to the beta for one of the last times, because I've been playing with a new feature in there all week that I'm really keen to tell you about.
Hi!
You're here, Evitel!
Here I am.
You. She's back on the sofa. There was something that I really wanted to talk about in this episode, because I wanted to talk to you specifically about it. And that is a new feature which was recently added to the beta, which has helped me have like the best week in any World of Warcraft expansion beta that I've ever had.
Okay, tell me more.
It is the interact key.
Okay.
And the interact key combined with me hitting a certain level of renown very carefully and very slowly in beta, and the music being put into the game as well, and all the professions now being there and finished as well, meant that I have wasted so much time this week literally just flying around and herbing. And fishing.
Herbing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I don't like the way Americans say herbing. I'm so sorry. Yeah. No. Yeah. Herbing. Right. Yeah. But it's been incredible. And like, you know me, I'm not like, I don't not do profession stuff, but I don't really do it. I never really engage. I did a lot of it in 8.2 in BFA because I was on a big gold farm. Right.
Same. I do it if I specifically want something like to make a mount or whatever.
Totally. So yeah, I remember in Najatar, I had a route. I went round a few times a day, and that was a combination of like I wanted my 5 million for my Brutosaur, and there not being much else to do. But also, I did not enjoy it. It was like a proper chore. It was proper. It was a profession. It was proper work, and I was flying around, getting all my weeds and stuff like that. Whereas I have, on numerous occasions this week, logged in simply because I wanted to fly around and herb.
Okay, so tell me what has made it so good. Is it just like the feedback?
Yeah, it's incredible. For a start, dragon riding feels amazing to be flying around. So there's that. There's the fact that the music in all the zones in Dragonflight is like unusually chill. Okay, so there are like bits where there's big fights happening and stuff like that, and obviously in dungeons it's exciting music and things and like the scenarios and stuff, but generally the music in Dragonflight is really chill, which just completely lends itself to this kind of rhythmic flying around, landing, picking herbs and stuff like that. And also like even the gathering professions are so like detailed and deep now, so I pick a few herbs and I go back and I'm like, I can put some more points in my specialization, right? So I'm like, oh, I want to be able to pick ice herbs and get like ice things from my ice herbs and stuff like that, and like and do stuff like that, plus the fact that I was also running tailoring, so I was making myself all of this cool gear. Like I made myself a fisherman's hat, and I made myself an herbing hat,
amazing,
and like a tailoring coat and stuff like that, which automatically gets put on when you do it. So when I herb,
I love it.
Like so, I land and I use my interact key. Now the interact key, if it's enabled, what it does is it automatically selects NPCs and clickable items in front of you and enemies. So if you're facing them, it automatically kind of highlights them, and if you press press the interact key that you've enabled, which obviously you can bind to any key, then it will automatically interact with it.
Nice.
Which is amazing for fishing. Another thing that I've been doing a lot of is fishing, because the fishing spots in Dragonflight are incredible. And so I'll go there. So there's this place in the Waking Shores. The Waking Shores, surprisingly, has like really Eastern themed music.
Okay.
You know, like really Asian style, kind of like Pandaren almost,
Nice.
like really nice plucked sort of like things. But it's also got this really weird one in like the big fishing hole. So there's this big communal fishing hole, right, which has like constant pools of fish everywhere, and there's a bar of how like richly stocked the fishing hole is. Like this valley is, right? And obviously the bar goes down the more people fish it, but there are dailies there to restock the fish. So it's like up to the server, I guess, to make sure that like the kind of canyon is always stocked with fish by doing the days and not just fishing it dry.
Really environmentally
It's incredible. And obviously the Tuskars are there and they're going like, this is how we keep the fish going, and like you've got to respect nature and stuff like that. And it's really good. And like you can restock it just by donating some fish.
Nice.
But you can also restock it by like chasing otters away, or like going to a different part of the canyon and like picking up fish with nets and like flying over our bit of the canyon and dropping the fish in and stuff like that, and it replenishes the bar, and it's really great. And then there's a daily there as well where you can put like a net down there as well, and you come back in 10 hours and there's like more fish, and the more renown you get, like the less time you have to wait and the more fish there is and stuff like that.
This is so smart of them, because this is just like the Stardew Valley affiliation.
Well, absolutely. It's so good,
but not to the point where it's like you have to do this or you will lose the game or you will miss out on big things. Like,
and, you know,
that sounds really.
The last couple of years, I've been doing kind of like the bare minimum in WoW, and because you know, like I was like, I'm only doing stuff which I enjoy. Yeah, exactly. I'm only doing stuff which I enjoy, and I maybe don't enjoy this, so I'm not going to do this. I only enjoy this, so I'm going to do this, and I've been perfectly happy doing that. And you know, that rule is still there, but now I'm just really enjoying this. And the music in this canyon, in the fishing hole, is like, it's plinky plonky and it's like plucked and it's kind of like Pandaren's theme, but it's got this really cool like almost dubstep reverse bit in it. It's so cool, and it's like the most chill thing you've ever heard, and it's like just incredible. So I've been doing that as well, and I love that, you know, whenever I herb, my herbing hat comes on and my spade comes out, and I'm like picking my herbs like that, and it's brilliant. So every now and then I'm like, oh, I can go back and I can kind of level this up, and it's, you know, this constant thing of, oh, I might just stay on another like 20 minutes and just collect some more cloth so I can just level this up, or just collect some more herbs so I can just level this up. And it feels amazing. And the interact key is really good with that. The interact key is amazing with fishing, because like I've got like my cast bound to a button, but then if you cast, you can bind 2 buttons to every application, right? So you can, I've got my interact key bound to a mouse button for when I'm herbing and when I just want to click on people to talk to them and stuff like that, so I'm not having to move my cursor, which is actually really good. It's the same amount of button presses, but it feels amazing. It just feels like a massive time saver somehow. After like 1 million button presses, you notice it, you know? And but my secondary is just like a number on my keypad. So I've got like my cast bound to a number, a key number, a number pad number, and I've got my interact button also cast to and they're next to each other, so I can literally sit there, cast, splosh, interact, get my fish, cast, splosh, interact, get my fish, and it's incredible because like as long as you've got your camera aligned properly, so like it casts in front of you, so you're always automatically, it's always in front of you, right, the cast, so it's always selected, and you're just like, it's amazing.
Dear Internet, I have never heard Tally be so excited about gathering her professions in my life.
I've never been excited about gathering professions before, and I have literally been logging in specifically to fly around, to do my fishing, to do some herbing, and it feels amazing.
Okay,
and
fine,
like,
I'm sold. I'm sold. I'm doing it.
Genuinely, I'm at the stage now. I've been saying for a while, I think the stuff that's there in Dragonflight is a banger. I think it's really, really good. Like, the question is, how long are we going to be expected to live with it, right?
Sure. Yeah.
because that renown goes up really quick. And you know, there's like 25 steps of renown for every faction. You're going to do that in weeks.
Right.
Like, it's not going to be...
Well, especially in the beginning when everyone is just like...
thing. Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, the more renown you get, a lot of the rewards are things that get renown quicker.
Right. Okay.
And it's not like an iterative thing. It's not like from 24 to 25 is 1,000,000 XP that you need. Like, it's always the same. It's always 2,000 XP. 2,000, I can't remember. Yeah. But it's always the same amount every time. So it will kind of snowball, and you will kind of like, you know, you'll have to do less if you want to go at the same pace, but you can bop it like later on. So I don't know how long it's going to last. Well, I mean, it's certainly not going to last 8 months like Shadowlands had to in the first patch. So I mean, that's the question, right? But the stuff that's like, I know that I will be doing professions at max level, and that'll be like content that I enjoy.
Wow!
And I think you're going to enjoy it too.
Like, you know what? You've sold it to me. Like, and especially now, I don't mean to bang on about it, but this office is really coming together. Yeah. And it's when I'm ordering my chair. We're gonna have my desk over there. We're gonna and you know what? When the kids are gonna be asleep, you know, Tally and I have a little bit of alone time. Yeah. We're gonna be gathering some herbs.
At last, we can stop having sex. At last, we got nothing else to do. With your desk isn't set up, so we got nothing to do but just like rail. And like, it's gonna be so nice just to play some WoW together. It's gonna be
amazing. Honestly, I cannot wait to have an excuse to not bone you anymore.
I'd be so less achy. Like, I'm gonna have like so much more energy.
No, but genuinely, you know, we'll turn on the mood lights. We'll turn on the LEDs.
Oh, it's lovely in here.
It is so nice. And
once I get that wall all lit up properly, this wall lit, and the sofa in here, and mate, it's gonna be so good.
Just sit down and gather. Like, it's gonna. I am really excited.
Get some dual streams going on as well.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's not even counting like the actual story and game and actual gameplay that I always think is most important. As well. So yeah, I am. Oh my god, I'm.
Do you know what I did last night? I got a bit distracted as I was writing the script, and I actually did a complete flight around the entire Dragon Isles.
How did it feel?
I discovered so much new stuff.
Oh, I bet.
I discovered like loads of just really cool little environmental story bits and like characters just gathering and stuff like that. And nearly every single one of them had a quest. As well, which like doesn't appear on your map, right? Yeah, so you're going around, and so I highly recommend that when you think you've done all the quests,
have a little swoop.
Fly around the coast, like the entire coast, and you see so many brilliant like stories and characters, and I loved it. And yeah, pretty much every little kind of sort of thing I came across had just a single quest attached to it, and it was really, really cool. Like, and Dragonflight just has that sense of play and love and kind of
the soundtrack has it too. Like you say, it's chill, but it's like old school RPG chill in a lot of ways. Like when I first heard it, I was like, oh wow, yeah, this like instantly takes me back. Not in a way that depends on nostalgia. It just kind of like, it's just the vibe. It just gives me a vibe, and I'm like, this is a good vibe.
Definitely. I did the actual journey into the Dragon Isles.
Nice.
With music for the first time. Blew my absolute dick off. It was brilliant. Yes. It was so good. Because you go on and like you go on there with your team that you've kind of picked up. Yeah. Except this might not happen on launch day because literally a million people are going to be trying to get on the boat at the same time. Yeah. But when you get on, like your team get on with you and they're having like this conversation and talking about exploring and cataloging everything and what have you. And like then you get a chance, if you want, you can like press an action button and you go up to the crow's nest. So like you just see the Dragon Isles like appear as you kind of sail or fly in, and it's so good. And the music is incredible. It's lush, and you've got all like this really cool like voice lines going over it. So good. Like I have not been this pleased with a beta ever. You know, I've only been in, you know, a BFA in Shadowlands, but this is just genuinely feels really nice and special.
That is, really good to hear, especially so close to launch date.
And I remember I did have a similar thing with Legion with archaeology. I got a bee in my bonnet about archaeology for Legion. Yeah. They put some really good rewards in archaeology in Legion. Yeah. So I kept up with that, and I would every now and then I'd spend an hour just like walking around a really nice part of Azuna or whatever, doing some archaeology, and this is like that but way better. The professional stuff, like the gathering and what have you. Oh man, it's
cool.
I've been having such a great time, and that's not even the actual questing or like the actual end game, or haven't touched the raid or dungeons or anything like that. So
I cannot wait.
It's so good. So
cannot wait.
You know if what I'm talking about appeals to you, right?
Yeah.
You know if you're like, oh, I've really enjoyed that in the past, and it's something that's been missing in WoW recently and what have you. Like, I think it's there in Dragonflight to a degree that it's never been there before.
Gonna start my evoker. Me and all of the other hunters from our raid team apparently are now all evokers.
Oh wow!
We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm so ready, just in every sense, to get back into this and just like properly play. See my guild come back together.
Oh, yeah.
Come back to life again, and just feel good about WoW. Feels good to feel good about WoW, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I hope it's not shit.
I know.
Can you imagine?
I know.
It's just shit.
Yeah.
I can't actually. No. Thank you for joining us today. If you like this video, don't thank us. Thank our patrons who give their actual real life money to make all of our work happen. Seriously.
Yeah.
Thank you. Without you, I mean, I'd be dead. Who knows what you'd be doing?
Who knows?
You'd probably be like
scraping the bottom of the barrel,
an assassin or something like that.
Oh, that would be like, cool, though.
The only way I can make money now is to do what I do best, that I swore I'd never do again. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it, and remember, my name is Fremily. We are Fremily, the official Fremily. No, my name is Taliesin. From me
and me, Evitel.
Until next time, cheerio.